All right, so my last story is one of the, if not the most heartbreaking, disheartening thing I've done. I had a Chevy Equinox. Had one. We decided, we want a nice, reliable SUV, so we went to a local guy who bought salvaged ones and refurbished them, and yeah, so we did that. We bought it from him. It was very well maintained, and I didn't know exactly what happened from start to finish of my whole catastrophe here, but I went back and I kind of put stuff together, and I realized all the problems that happened to get me from point A to point B. So I will actually be able to relay that now. So got the Equinox, and probably waited a little too long for the oil change. So that's my assumption. It was probably a good 6,000 over minimum.
Over?
Minimum, maybe a little bit more. But so my beautiful. So when I drove it, it was great. But my wife, it broke down when she was driving it. So I blame her. She was driving it home. So she was driving it home, and she calls me and she goes, "Hey, this thing's running like crap. It's on like some emergency mode. I can go like 10 miles an hour, and there's she's going over a bridge into our city, and there's traffic all over. It's winter. It's here." So I'm like, "Limp it home, get it home." So she's able to limp it home, got it in my garage, and that's where it stayed for a long time. It stayed there for about a month, and then I finally, I got this. So I went in there, don't know what I'm doing. I try to hook up stuff. It's saying that this isn't working, something with the crankshaft, something with this. It's like, maybe it's the timing belt. I don't know. So I ripped down, got to the timing belt. I don't know really what a timing belt even does, but somehow I got to the timing belt, got that aligned, but then the engine wouldn't crank over. Well, called a couple mechanic buddies, ended up that I had a broken valve and a broken piston. At that point, you're like, okay, that sounds pretty catastrophic. Probably want to bring it in. I got this. I'll take care of it. So I got to rip this whole car apart, which, I can barely do an oil change. But I can do this. That's fine. So I can't get the top part. So the head, it's got the top, and then there's another part under it. So I can't get the top part where all the valves are. I cannot get that part off. So I'm wrenching on it with a crowbar, and it's getting warped at this point. But I don't know what that means. So finally, I realized after 2 days of trying to get this off, there was one little bolt down there that I forgot to take off. Let's take that bolt off; it comes off just fine. So I actually get the rest of the car. I get the valve replaced. I get the piston replaced. Everything. I got it all put back together. Well, I realized when I was trying to rip off the head, when the bolt was there, I had punctured a hole into the head part. So I'm like, oh, well, that'll be fun. So I put the rest of it on there, turn it on, or I put the oil in there, and it starts leaking out the bottom. Well, I realized that I don't have a gasket on where the oil pan goes, so oil just starts leaking all out of it. So I have to rip it apart to get that oil pan off, put a gasket on there. So this finally get the whole thing put back together. Took me probably a month and a half to do. Drive it to work. Think this is great. Well, I get to work and I'm about 5 minutes away, and then the same little thing starts coming on. And I realized that hole that I had wasn't holding the oil in the engine, so it was spitting the oil out all the engine. It's like, so I got to bring that back to my house. So I have my wife come pull me back to my house with our van, and I'm down the highway going, it's probably a good 10 miles down the highway to get to my house. She's pulling me on this little rope back there. So get it back to our house, take the top part off of the head, look at this hole, and I'm like, all right, it's about, this big-ish. We have this thing called Mighty Putty. I'll just use that. So I just went and got a little stick of Mighty Putty, crammed that in there, then put the head on top of it, screwed it back on there. I'm good to go. So get it out. It starts back up again. Drive around the block. And then it just starts smoking. This blue smoke everywhere. I'm like, what is going on in my car now? So I called Doo-Doo. I'm like, dude, I just don't know what's going on here. So I explained to him. He goes, oh, so you replace the head gasket. Like, yeah. Okay, did you tighten it down the right way? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, no, you idiot. You have to tighten it in a certain way so it tightens evenly. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't do that. So I had to go back, rip the engine apart again. The head gasket was all messed up, so I had to put another one in there to tighten it right. And finally, I'm like, I'm just selling this thing. I'm done with it. So I figure, okay, I can put this together enough to get it to the dealership and sell it. So we get it put back together. It's running not good, but good enough where I can drive it up there. So about a week prior to that, I called the because I got a loan on it. I call the place and pay the loan off. $13,000 I paid off right there. I'm done with it. I just want to pay it off. So pay that off. Me and my wife get up. We limp it to the dealership, park it. Like, all right, we made it here. Let's just hope they don't actually want to try to test drive it to make sure it's good. Which, yeah, of course they're not going to. So we get into the guy's place, and we're talking to the salesman. He goes, oh, you interested in wanting to, sell a vehicle? Yeah, we got a really good Equinox out there to give you guys. We just don't use it much. The guy goes, oh, okay. So he walks out there and comes back in. Yeah, I have to get a battery pack. The battery isn't dead. I'm like, okay, let's hope that's all that's wrong. So he gets it charged. I'm talking to my wife, and all of a sudden she just starts going, oh, my God. I'm like, what? She said that because I went to the bathroom, I think. How did that work? Was I in the bathroom when you saw it?
No, we were sitting at the desk.
Okay, so we were both sitting at the desk.
And they pulled it around the building.
Yeah.
And it literally blew up right when they passed us.
Yeah, so we were both sitting at the desk, and they drive by the front of the dealership, right by the windows, and then just black smoke starts spewing out of the whole thing, just exploding. And before they drove it, the guy said, he came out and said, yeah, I'm just going to give it a test drive, but if it's good, we'll be able to give you probably $9,000 for it. I'm thinking, great. So he drives around, comes back in, sits down, he goes, so the engine blew up, we can give you $2,000. I'm like, I will take it. So
you didn't try to say, why'd you blow up my engine?
No.
What did you do to my car?
At that point, I was just done. So yeah, within that week, my vehicle blew up for like the third time, and I just lost $13,000 by paying it off. So now I got another car that I have a $600 a month car payment on that I don't ever need it, but now I have that because I blew my Equinox up. So, and then what happened was when me and Doo-Doo were talking too, what caused it, I think, to blow up in the last part was I really warped the head when I was trying to cram that head off the first part. So going back now, if I had a time machine, I would be able to do it perfectly because I had to rip it apart so many times. But I don't have a time machine, so I'm just kind of stuck with what happened. So that one was heartbreaking, especially the $13,000 in the week prior. That hurt. So,
well, the nice thing about all these stories is, you don't learn unless you try something. And yeah, that was your dad and I had quite a good time up here talking about you and your Equinox.
I'm glad I gave you something to talk about. I'm glad.
You called me and you go, I got a cracked piston now, and I said, well, you got to, you just take them out and order some new ones and slap some rings on it, and you can put it back in. And then you called me back and said, how do I get them out? And I go, we'll take the oil pan off and go from the bottom. And you call you, and then we hung up, and you called me. Oh, that was really easy. I had quite a few giggles over that one.
Oh, I mean, it was a lot of work. Yeah, I'm not glad it happened, but it
You
gave me
know
good experience working on cars,
Yep.
but I don't really have a good result from it. Oh yeah, I really know what I'm doing. As my port Equinox is blown up. So yeah, that was my last one.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Four Roads Out of Warba podcast. We broadcast weekly on YouTube, and I hope to be posting more of these short clips over the upcoming days and weeks, and I hope you'll check them out and check out our full podcast, as 4 friends and family members share more wacky and hilarious stories from our lives. Thanks for watching.